sharing on our Facebook page. Leave your comments and questions as I run through these stories, and then we'll circle back to them after the forecast at the end of all this. So we're going to start with a story that developed overnight, and it's this crazy crash on the West Park Tollway. So it happened in the eastbound lanes near Eldridge Parkway, and we now know that the driver, wrong-way driver, who caused this crash is charged with felony murder. The Harris County Sheriff's Office just released it. His name is Patrick Njongo. He has 3 convictions for DWI in Illinois and Missouri, 5 previous DWI arrests. So let me tell you about what happened when this wrong-way crash went down. The passenger, the prisoner that the deputies had in the back of this patrol vehicle, he was killed. He died at the hospital. The 2 deputies went to the hospital. One deputy has broken bones in his foot, bruises and cuts. The probationary deputy who was in training has a head injury, but we're told is stable. Just absolutely terrifying. And the fact that this guy has a pretty prolific history with DWIs is terrifying as well. Our thoughts and prayers go out to the deputies. We hope they recover quickly, and the family of the poor prisoner who was in the back. We don't have a lot of information about him. We don't know his name yet. Hopefully that'll be something we learn in the coming hours, but we'll keep updating this story through the course of the day. We'll also have an update on KHOU 11 News at noon. Now, there was another crash that really backed up your morning commute. It is all clear now. That's the good news here. This was at Katy Freeway at I-45. The crash happened at 5 a.m. and the freeway just reopened at about 7:15. Investigators tell us a man who was possibly homeless ran across the freeway, got hit by a car. The driver stayed at the scene. It doesn't look like any charges are going to be filed. Just a horrible, horrible accident. But a lot of folks were clicking, had a lot of interest in this story because I'm sure you got caught in the backup if you were on the Katy Freeway trying to make your way into town. Now, we've talked a lot in the past few weeks about American tourists and the Dominican Republic, right? Well, now there's a warning from Costa Rica, from the government there. The health ministry says 19 people have died. We don't know their nationalities. We don't know if they're Costa Rican or if they're tourists, but they died from tainted alcohol. There were toxic levels of methanol in the booze, which is basically an ingredient in antifreeze, paint remover, paint thinner, copy machine fluid, not anything you want to be drinking. So the government confiscated 30,000 bottles. It's testing them all. But it has a warning about brands. If you're going to Costa Rica this summer, definitely be cautious. Heed the warning from the government there. When we were talking about Dominican Republic a couple weeks ago, a lot of people said, I'm not going to risk it. I'm going to go to Costa Rica. And now we have this other threat. So just something to be aware of if you're headed that way. Credit agencies, they're supposed to monitor and protect your credit, right? Well, Equifax did the opposite. And now it's in trouble. It is going to pay potentially the largest data breach settlement in history. This word just came down. Because do you remember back in 2017, it had this huge data breach affecting 147 million customers? Well, now the attorneys general of 50 states reached a settlement with the company for $600 million. And that's going to be the largest ever. You can read up on that on khou.com. And then I just want to give a shout out to a guy named Willis Carrier. 117 years ago this month, Willis, Mr. Carrier, developed the first modern air conditioning system. God bless him. His goal, he worked in a printing plant, and his goal was to cut down on the humidity so ink wouldn't stick to the paper. You know, not all heroes wear capes, guys. And I think this guy deserves a statue, especially here in Houston, because the city, one, wouldn't be what it is without him. I remember I did a story back in 2017 when I first started working here at KHOU about air conditioning and how its creation really led to Houston's booming community because no one wanted to live here before. In the 50s and 60s, before it was more commercially available, Houston was kind of a bummer. Also, interesting note, movie theaters were some of the first businesses to get air conditioners. Brilliant move, because a lot of people ditched their homes that didn't have AC, flocked to see the flicks, taking the cooler temperatures. So my question for you is, what is your thermostat in your house? Not at the office, because I know that you can't agree with all the coworkers. What is the thermostat temperature in your house? Mine is supposed to be 72. It keeps bumping itself up to 78. I have no idea how to fix this. So every day when I come home, I knock it back down to 72. But I know some people like it real chilly. Jaime, we'll circle back to this. What do you like?
Oh, definitely very chilly. Yeah, I mean, I'll try to keep it at 72 like during the day, just to kind of keep the energy bills in check. But later in the evenings, you know, I'll try to get down to like 71, 70. So
it's nice to wake up when it's like cold and crisp.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll get back to that. Upside, we have a cool front moving in. Here's your little brief forecast. There are going to be some showers today, temperatures in the low to mid 90s. But tomorrow morning, we should get this cool front. It's July in Houston, so it's not going to be crazy cool. But it should knock back the humidity. Great news. And our temperatures in the mornings should be in the upper 70s and low 80s instead of where they are, which is like disgusting and gross. So, yeah, that's your forecast. Let's talk about comments.
Okay, well,
maybe I'll wake up now. I don't know. I make no promises.
I guess we'll say good morning to some of our viewers. You know, thanks for watching. Snapper, Roxy, all those people. Thank you for watching this morning. A lot of people say it's kind of sad this morning, you know, about hearing about this deadly crash.
Yeah.
And I think some people were asking where this was, and this was on the outbound lanes. Excuse me, not outbound. The eastbound lanes, inbound lanes of the West Park Tollway near the Eldridge ramp. Mm-hmm. So, and a lot of people who've commented on our story when we shared this morning about how this is kind of a trouble area for actually wrong way drivers, and that this happens kind of often. I travel that way often myself, and I can see it can be very confusing. But the bottom line is if you're going to be drinking, you know, don't get behind the wheel.
And this guy, as we mentioned, has 3 DWI convictions, 5 arrests in Missouri and I think Indiana?
Illinois,
thank you. So the sheriff is angry, you know, that this guy's on the road, injured 2 of his deputies, killed a prisoner. I know in Oregon, if you get 3 DWIs within a year, you go to jail. I had a family member go to jail for 90 days, mandatory minimum sentencing. And that person is now sober because that was a big wake-up call for them. It shouldn't, I wish it didn't take that long for some people to wake up. And I know alcoholism is a disease and it's really difficult, but you just think about, we talked about this the other day, how many people you put at risk, not just yourself. This man allegedly put himself at risk, those deputies, and the prisoner. And there was the potential that all 4 of them could have been wiped out.
Absolutely. And I know the district attorney's office is also kind of, you know, digging further because they want to know where he was coming from. You know, if he was coming from a bar, you know, because they said he was allegedly very intoxicated, so they want to know who was serving him, because that's also they have their they also have their own accountability and responsibility in terms of knowing when to stop serving customers. Yeah.
So we'll have a lot of follow-ups on this case over the course of today, and I'm sure many weeks to come.
Tashika says, you know, good morning, and please drive safe. You know, today, and obviously we had another fatal accident this morning, like you mentioned, on the Katy Freeway. Just always try to be alert, you know, and be aware of your surroundings.
And that is my biggest fear. Well, one of them, driving on Houston freeways. You see so many people on the side of the freeway and folks who dart in front of traffic that, let's be honest, probably isn't going the speed limit. It's going a little faster than that. They are taking their lives in their own hands trying to make those sprints. It's horrifying to watch. And so many times we report on them not making it.
Right. I've encountered people who were trying to make it across on bikes in areas that are not meant for them to cross at, but also not, areas that are not well lit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and at night, and so it's just so dangerous. You have to be alert.
Yeah, and this pedestrian was running across the Katy Freeway, which is how many lanes at I-45 at 5 a.m. when it's still dark. Yes, it may be decently lit, but you're driving in the dark.
And actually, this was actually near the Be Someone's overpass. So if it's near the overpass, it's probably if he's anywhere near underneath that, then you know, or the person could be in the shadows when they're trying to cross, and a driver he's not going to be able to see them in time.
And not going to be able to stop. Yeah.
Dania's like, wow, it's been 117 years. So, you know, when it comes to AC.
Since it was created, it was really more commercially available into the 50s and 60s. That's when homes started getting their own units. So 117 years ago, the world learned what AC was all about, but we weren't able to manufacture it and make it at a decent price point to install in homes for a couple more decades. Amen and hallelujah for it, though.
I always feel so bad when I hear stories around this time of the year where people talk about how, the AC went out in my car, the AC broke in my home, and I was like, I don't know how people can manage that. It's just you have to get it fixed right away. I mean, it's just because we need it so bad in this area.
Yeah. So back home in Oregon, I grew up with AC, but only 40% of homes have it because it gets hot like 1 week out of the summer. And when I say hot, it gets to like 95, which down here is nothing. So it's really interesting going back home as they've had hotter summers. My first summer living down here, which was in 2015, on average, the temperature in Portland was higher than in Houston. Now, that doesn't take into account our feels like, our humidity, all of that. We felt hotter, but the average temperature in Portland was hotter.
Wow.
Those poor people, so many of them, did not have air conditioning. I can't.
I've been through that before. I spent two years in Chicago, and the summers there, it gets very, very hot. And I mean, I finally had to break down and buy like a small little window unit, to keep cool in my apartment. Or I would just not even just stay in my apartment. I would just try to go somewhere with a shop or a cafe, someplace that had AC.
Chicago is such a study in extremes too.
Yes.
Because you have the winters where you can't get enough heat in your place, to the summers where you can't cool it down fast enough.
Yeah.
Hoy.
Oh, we actually got quite a few people commenting on what temperatures that they set their home ACs at. So,
yes.
See, Kathy says 73. Lisa says 78.
Lisa, do you run cold? Are you always cold? I'm super curious about that. If you just run cold, or if you like the heat.
Lamona says 72, which I totally agree with. I think that's probably a good temperature to keep it at without having to, to deal with, a really high electricity bill. Sandra says 73. It seems like people are kind of hovering around that 73, 72 range there.
Excuse me.
Wow, Josh likes it kind of cold. He likes it at 68.
It's so funny when it's that cold in my house. Who else feels like their house is too cold when you walk in the door? After you've walked outside and it's, the temperature of the surface of the sun, you step inside, it's way too cold. So you go upstairs and check the thermostat and it's warmer. That's my problem every time when I come home. It feels like ice in my house. Then I go up and see it's 78. Mentally, I'm like, it doesn't add up.
Yeah.
Because your body gets so skewed being outside here.
It takes a little time to adjust.
That even warm feels cool.
Yeah.
Which is our cool front that's rolling in. It is not cool. It is not cold. But it is less hot than it has been. Than it will be.
Whoa. Looks like Dorothy is going to be our winner. She likes it at 60.
Woo!
Yeah.
I want to know what that AC bill is like. That
right.
power bill.
like, and my problem that also sometimes we'll have is there's different spots where I like to like either sit in my house or even just lay in bed where somehow the vent's always hitting on me too. And so after a little while, it's like, okay, maybe I have it set a little too low, or I'm at risk of getting sick by having it just hit on you all the time.
See, I like it low when I'm sleeping. Drop it as low, like I can see my breath. I used to leave my window open during the winters because I just love the cold. But the problem is then getting out of bed. Because it feels so nice when it's cozy and you have that like crisp air on your face. And then you have to get out of the bed and walk to the bathroom, to the shower. That walk sucks. Gotta wait for the heat to turn back on.
Yeah.
And then the hot water of the shower scalds your icy body. Obviously, I'm a morning person. Can you tell? I'm not.
Yeah, I guess we should end it with this. Jeremy says we probably shouldn't call it cool front. Maybe we should call this a not so hot front. Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. We'll talk to Erica about that. See what she does for noon, the not so hot front. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. I'll go back through and respond to some of your comments and questions. Otherwise, we'll have an update at 2:15 this afternoon. Have a great day.